The political developments happening in Vietnam at this moment will have significant consequences for not just the country's internal politics, but also its ties with major powers. The demise of Nguyen Phu Trong, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, has now created a power vacuum in the country for the top position of the party. Nguyen Phu Trong, for decades, has been at the helm of Vietnam's politics and has led Vietnam as one of the few remaining communist nations. It's important to note at this juncture that under Trong, Vietnam has been following a policy of bamboo diplomacy. Coined by Trong himself, bamboo diplomacy entails a balancing act among the major powers. Just like a bamboo, Vietnam also aimed to be strong in its roots but flexible enough to adapt to the needs of the environment. In a matter of a year, Phu Trong successfully hosted the leaders of the United States, China, and Russia. China and the United States have a long history of conflict with Vietnam, and even though the legacies of those wars continue to shroud the country's relations with both the US and China, Trong has been pragmatic enough to understand the importance of cooperating with both the countries at present. China continues to stake its claims at the South China Sea, and Vietnam needs the United States as an ally to protect it from Chinese aggression. On the other hand, Vietnam has also been engaging with China on improving their economic relationship. Vietnam even accepted the participation in China's community of a shared future in order to keep engaging China diplomatically and avert any conflicts with the country. China and Vietnam have also signed around 36 cooperation documents on infrastructure, trade, and security. Vietnam has also been successful in forming stronger economic relationships with Japan and the US while ensuring the two states that it is still keeping China at an arm's length. While the US remains Vietnam's greatest export market, the country relies heavily on Chinese imports. Under the leadership of Phu Trong, this balance was carefully maintained. However, now with a power vacuum in its place, it will be difficult to predict what course of action Vietnam's foreign policy would pursue. This would have a significant impact on the US-China relations that continue to become hostile. If Vietnam decides to tilt towards China, the US will lose a major ally in Southeast Asia and would have far-reaching implications for the US sphere of influence in the region. If, however, Vietnam decides to pursue closer relations with the US, it would trigger China to become aggressive in the South China Sea. In any case, it will become even more difficult for Vietnam to continue with the bamboo diplomacy in an increasingly polarized world.